but she might also be moving close to where I live.
Do you feel threatened by that?
I do feel threatened. I always felt threatened by her. She was rude to staff. She was inappropriate with a mailman. She tried to follow a mailman. She just went completely crazy and started screaming at me.
The TV show Baby Reindeer has been a hot topic recently, and now the real-life inspiration for the character Martha is speaking out about her portrayal. Fiona Harvey, who was depicted as stalking Richard Gadd in the Netflix series, has shared her perspective. She criticised how Netflix portrayed her and signed up for an interview with Piers to tell her side of the story. According to Harvey, the events shown in Baby Reindeer do not fully reflect what happened in real life. However, in the latest Baby Reindeer development, lawyer Laura Wray has spoken out about being stalked by Fiona Harvey. Wray appeared on Piers Uncensored, revealing that she was the one who offered Harvey her first trial run at her law firm in 1997. During the interview, Wray, the widow of former Labour MP Jimmy Wray, expressed her fear of being targeted by Harvey again. In this video, we delve into her detailed interview with Piers Morgan. Right after Baby Reindeer was released, viewers tried to find out who the real Martha was. Despite Richard Gadd's request for people not to search for her, Fiona Harvey started doing interviews to share her side of the story. Initially, she remained anonymous, but now Fiona Harvey has revealed herself as the real Martha, and she is somewhat happy to be named. Fiona Harvey had claimed that Laura Wray headhunted her to be a specialist in employment law at her firm, but Wray refuted this on Piers Uncensored. According to Wray, Harvey was actually seeking a traineeship and had been looking for one for about 4 years.
She says that you headhunted her to be a specialist in the employment law at your firm at the time. Is that true?
No, she was looking for a traineeship. She had been looking for a traineeship for about 4 years and couldn't get anyone to take her on, or at least I think she'd been taken on twice before me.
She had been taken on twice before, but only for very brief periods. Normally, a traineeship should be secured within 2 years of getting a legal diploma, but Harvey had several extensions because she was way out of time. Wray received numerous letters from Harvey, written in such familiar terms that she thought they might have met somewhere, possibly through the Labour Party. When Wray got engaged to Jimmy, Harvey sent a congratulations card, followed by another letter expressing disappointment about not being interviewed for a traineeship. Feeling bad if she had overlooked someone she knew, Wray invited Harvey for an interview. During the interview, Harvey seemed reasonably credible and didn't display any of the concerning behaviour that appeared later. She talked in detail about her family circumstances, which made Wray feel sorry for her. Harvey pleaded for a chance, saying she had no money and no one had ever given her an opportunity. Wray decided to help her out, but Harvey only ended up working for her for 2 weeks.
Would you please help me out here? I've got no money, etc. So I said, okay. And she only worked for me for 2 weeks.
Trainees typically start with menial tasks like filing or sitting in on meetings. They're in training and don't initially do anything of great importance. A 2-year traineeship is required for full legal training. Fiona Harvey claimed she had a law degree, and Laura Wray believes this is true, since her file includes a document from the Law Society confirming it. Harvey also obtained the diploma in law required in Scotland. However, Harvey never practiced law and likely never secured a traineeship in Scotland. After briefly working for Wray, she joined another firm and was fired, causing significant trouble there. Wray recalls that Harvey's employment at her firm was very short-lived, lasting only 2 weeks. In an interview, Harvey claimed Wray didn't know the name of her own firm, which Wray dismisses as nonsense. She clarifies that her firm was called L&L Lawrence when she employed Harvey.
I mean, my firm was called L&L Lawrence at the time I employed her.
Laura Wray recounted her experience with Fiona Harvey in a detailed interview. Initially, Wray described Harvey's role at the firm, explaining that trainees typically start with menial tasks like filing or answering phones. Harvey's job was to jot down details from calls to their accident hotline, a service for the public seeking advice on accidents. This was before the internet, so they had a special free phone number. Harvey's job was to take down names and basic details and then pass them to a solicitor.
So she was put onto a desk where what she had to do was jot down details of anyone phoning on our accident hotline. Now, this was the days before the internet. So we had a special phone number, a free phone number. Members of the public could phone if they wanted advice about an accident.
She was not qualified to give advice herself, as she had no experience. Despite having a law degree and a diploma in law from Scotland, Harvey never practiced law. She had difficulty securing a traineeship and had worked briefly at other firms before being fired. Harvey's time at Ray's firm lasted only 2 weeks and was marked by numerous incidents. She was rude to staff, shouted at people, acted inappropriately with a male staff member, and even threw a book across the office.
But essentially, she was rude to staff, she shouted at people, she was inappropriate with a male member of staff, she tried to follow a male member of staff home. I mean, all sorts of things happened. She threw a book across the office and hit somebody with it.
One alarming incident involved Harvey telling people who called the hotline to seek help from other firms, despite the firm paying for this premium service. On her first day, she demanded an advance from the cashier, which was refused. A few days later, she confronted Ray, claiming she needed money for car repairs. Ray, feeling sympathetic, gave her £250 from her own money. Despite Ray's efforts to help, including speaking to Harvey's bank to smooth out financial issues, Harvey continued to cause trouble. She screamed at Ray and other staff members, displaying aggressive behaviour similar to scenes depicted in Richard Gadd's show. She made inappropriate calls, including one to a disabled solicitor, spreading false and hurtful information. Ray recounted returning from a trip to find her staff in tears due to Harvey's behaviour. When confronted, Harvey denied her actions but eventually admitted them, thinking they were justified. Ray decided to let her go, paying her for the full month despite only 2 weeks of work. Harvey refused to leave, threatened to call the Law Society, and had to be physically escorted out by Ray and the cashier. After being fired, every day Laura Wray would come into the office to find the answer phone filled with threatening messages from Fiona Harvey. The messages were consistently menacing.
Every day I'd come into the office, the answer phone would be full of messages, all from her, all threatening.
With Harvey making ominous statements about Ray and her family. Ray estimated receiving about an hour's worth of these hostile messages daily. Harvey's harassment campaign lasted nearly 5 years, creating a climate of fear and anxiety at Ray's workplace. The situation became so severe that Ray had to issue panic alarms to her staff, who were terrified something awful might happen. The persistent harassment took a toll on everyone involved. Harvey also sent defamatory faxes to other solicitors, prompting Ray to issue panic alarms to her staff, who were terrified of potential harm. Laura Wray reached her breaking point when Fiona Harvey accused her of assaulting her 3-year-old son, Frankie, who was born with a rare chromosomal disorder.
He accused you of assaulting your 3-year-old son, Frankie, who was born with a rare chromosomal disorder.
Well, that was that was the point at which I thought, I can take no more of this.
This was the final straw for Ray, who had already endured extensive harassment from Harvey. Months earlier, a lawyer who had hired and then fired Harvey called Ray in distress, explaining that social workers and police had shown up at his home because Harvey had falsely accused him of abusing his children. This ordeal had severely impacted the lawyer's life, and he was desperate for help. Ray's troubles with Harvey escalated when she decided to pursue further education at Strathclyde University in 2002. She was shocked to see Harvey there, as the harassment had quieted down for a while. Harvey followed her around the university, making Ray uncomfortable. Ray complained to a professor, but since Harvey wasn't registered as a student, the university took no immediate action. Later, the university acknowledged Ray's complaint after Harvey started harassing staff and other students. Shortly after Ray made her complaint, she found 2 social workers at her door, responding to serious allegations against her. Ray invited them in and explained her history with Harvey, including the other lawyer's experience. The social workers confirmed that the complaints came from a woman claiming to be a fellow student, using a false name initially. Harvey made 5 complaints to the social work department, demanding that Ray's severely disabled son be taken into care. This relentless harassment was the breaking point for Ray. She contacted the police, but they took no action. However, as a consultant for Drummond Miller solicitors, Ray was able to secure an interim interdict, similar to a restraining order, against Harvey. The interim interdict against Fiona Harvey was valid for a year and a day. It worked as intended, as Wray did not hear from Harvey for 22 years. When Harvey disappeared, Wray felt immense relief. She had enough on her plate with her husband Jimmy suffering a stroke a year after the ordeal, and caring for her severely handicapped son Frankie, whose condition was still uncertain at the time. Wray does not believe the stress from Harvey's actions adversely affected Jimmy's health, as he was resilient and more concerned about her and Frankie. The visit from social workers, prompted by Harvey's false allegations, was particularly distressing, especially given Frankie's condition. Wray expressed her disbelief at Harvey's cruelty, stating that targeting her son was beyond the pale. She could handle the personal attacks, but involving her disabled child was unforgivable. She discovered Baby Reindeer only 5 weeks ago when some media outlets contacted her, asking if she had seen it. She had no idea what they were talking about, so they suggested she watch an episode. It became clear to her that the show was about Fiona Harvey. The actress sounded and looked just like her, even mimicking her phrases from her real Twitter account. She revealed that she has a file full of letters, emails and other documents that match everything shown in the series. The press quickly identified her because there could only be one Scottish lawyer with such experiences involving Fiona Harvey.
Real Fiona Harvey's Twitter account?
Yes, I have a file full of papers which are letters from her, emails, faxes and so forth, and it's all identical.
As for Fiona, the press held back for about a week, but then the Sun revealed her identity. A story was featured in the Sunday Mail, one of Scotland's top papers, with the headline "MP's Wife and the Stalker." Her husband Jimmy was an MP at the time, making it a front-page splash. This wasn't a small, quiet story. It was massive news in Scotland that everyone would have been aware of. According to her, when the story was recounted in Baby Reindeer, she was in disbelief and shock for about a week. The experience had a very bad effect on her, and even now, after 5 weeks, it's still very triggering for her. She had never watched YouTube before, but now she sees daily comments and analyses about the show, which is very distressing. Seeing psychiatrists and others discussing her situation brings everything back, making it hard to move on. Despite being a robust person who regularly appears in court as an advocate, she has been brought to tears by this experience.
You've been left to tears from?
Well, yes. I'm a reasonably robust person. I'm an advocate. I appear in court all the time, so I'm not easily prone to tears, but this has got me very, very anxious and upset, and particularly since...
She recently heard that Fiona Harvey might be looking to buy a house in Bucklevi, a village near her. Journalists have been asking around about this, making her extremely concerned. She feels threatened because she never knows what Fiona might do next. The possibility of Fiona moving close to her home heightens her sense of threat, leaving her feeling vulnerable. However, friends of the real-life Martha have dismissed rumours that Fiona Harvey is planning to move to Scotland to be near a Scottish lawyer. A friend of Harvey, based in London, refuted these claims, saying, "Fiona wants people to know there's no way she is moving to Scotland to be closer to Laura Wray." The friend provided more details about Harvey's current situation. She hasn't been house hunting in Scotland recently. She barely goes out in London because she's worried about being recognised. They emphasise that there has been no contact between Harvey and Wray for 25 years. The situation is becoming increasingly tense as Wray considers legal action against Harvey, who is suing Netflix over her portrayal in Baby Reindeer. The friend added, "Fiona said she won't get a penny." When asked if the events in Baby Reindeer were materially true about her, Wray clarified that some parts were accurate. The show depicted a character who was a mother. Harvey was sacked from Wray's law firm and subsequently turned against her. Additionally, the show featured a barrister, which aligns with Wray's current profession. The part about the stalker targeting a child was unmistakably drawn from her own experiences. Despite these similarities, Wray confirmed she had never met Richard Gadd, the creator of Baby Reindeer.
No question. That's straight from this story.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Richard Gadd?
No.
In Baby Reindeer, it is claimed that Fiona Harvey was convicted and sentenced to 4.5 years for her actions against Wray and her family. Wray clarified that this is untrue as she never pressed criminal charges. Wray emphasised Netflix's duty of care, noting that both she and Harvey could be easily identified despite inaccuracies in the portrayal. The claim about the prison sentence is a significant misrepresentation, as it falsely depicts Harvey as a convicted criminal for harassment. Wray added that even if she had sought a criminal conviction, Harvey likely wouldn't have received a long or custodial sentence for her actions. Despite laws tightening around harassment and stalking, in Scotland the laws remain less stringent than in England. She mentioned that the police told her they couldn't take action unless Harvey physically attacked her.
So, I spoke to the police not so long ago and asked them about this, and certainly in Scotland the law hasn't changed in line with the way it has in England on stalkers. So it's still very difficult. Basically, the police say unless she actually comes up and physically attacks me, there's nothing they can do to protect me.
Last week it was reported that Fiona Harvey, the real-life Martha who inspired Baby Reindeer, is suing Netflix. The lawsuit, filed in a California court, seeks over $170 million in damages. Harvey accuses Netflix of spreading brutal lies about her. Fiona Harvey might have a legitimate case against Netflix, Richard Gadd, and Clerkenwell Films if it turns out she has never been convicted of any crimes as depicted in the series. In Baby Reindeer, both Wray and Gadd's stories suggest that Harvey received lengthy prison sentences for stalking, which doesn't seem to be true. Wray agrees that Harvey could have a strong case, but emphasises that proving damage to her reputation is crucial for claiming damages. She noted that Harvey has never held a stable job, so a claim for loss of earnings might not be feasible. However, Harvey has top lawyers pursuing action against Netflix in both the US and the UK. While Harvey might have a good legal case, Wray questions what it would be worth, especially in Scotland. She highlights Harvey's pattern of stalking multiple people, including herself. Many victims are afraid to come forward, but have contacted Wray to share their experiences. Wray has no doubt that Harvey is a dangerous stalker. Wray also disclosed that she is considering suing Harvey, especially if Netflix compensates her significantly. If Netflix gives her £132 million, I'll be suing her, she said. However, Wray noted the challenges of suing someone with no money, as reparation claims are expensive to mount and often futile if the defendant has no assets.
Have you considered suing her?
Well, I am considering suing her, and certainly if Netflix give her £11 million, I'll be suing her. Problem is that if she has no money, reparation claims are very expensive to mount. There's very little point in me suing her if she's got nothing.
When asked if Richard Gadd had made any attempt to reach out to her, Wray replied, "None at all." She understands Gadd's position, acknowledging that he has written a compelling TV series and has been successful with it. However, she finds it untrue when Gadd claims he changed the details to prevent people from recognising Harvey. He could easily have made her someone who didn't look like Fiona Harvey, perhaps an accountant or a doctor. Laura Wray ended the interview with Piers by advising Fiona Harvey to seek psychiatric help. "I think you need to get psychiatric help as soon as possible and get off Facebook," Wray said. "Stop sending emails and messages to people. You're doing yourself no favours, especially if you're planning to sue Netflix." Baby Reindeer star Jessica Gunning has come out in support of Richard Gadd amid the backlash surrounding his popular Netflix series. In an interview with the Radio Times, Gunning discussed her decision to avoid engaging with comments made by Fiona Harvey, the woman depicted as Martha in the show. She expressed concern about the potential impact of Harvey's interviews on Gadd, describing him as a survivor of sexual assault and stalking, and highlighting the courage it took for him to share his story publicly. Gunning commended Gadd for his bravery in bringing his experiences to light, noting that he exposed both his strengths and mistakes in the series. She emphasised her protective feelings toward Gadd and her desire to prevent any additional distress for him amid the controversy. Furthermore, Gunning pointed out that Gadd made a deliberate effort to change identities in Baby Reindeer, opting to name himself Donnie in the dramatisation. Despite this, she acknowledged that viewers are naturally curious about the real people behind the story. Previously, Gunning has called on fans of Baby Reindeer to refrain from attempting to identify the real-life counterparts of the characters, arguing that doing so undermines the creative spirit of the show. This saga isn't over yet, and we're all curious to see what unfolds next. And that wraps up our video for today. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on Laura Wray's interview with Piers. Drop your comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Remember to hit the like button for this video and consider subscribing to stay updated with our future releases. Thanks for watching.